everyone, welcome back to another 2v2 battle. I am playing as the Dwarves, and I have an ally here in the Greenskins. We are facing off against a Vampire count and another Greenskin player. The Vampire count went with a interesting build, let's say that. We have just a bunch of Cairn Wraiths. They are led by Manfred von Karstein on a dragon. You see Grimgor over there. The Orc player has a bunch of Orc boys and then some Orc boy Orc Biggins here. Followed by some Black Orcs and 3 groups of Savage Orc Airboys, and also an Arachnarok Spider. Over here, tucked away in the corner, we have some Hex Wraiths and a couple of Goblin Wolf Riders. My ally has a front line of Orc Boys, backed up by Black Orcs, some Night Goblin Fanatics. Now, I don't think you... The Goblin Fanatics, they cost, I think it's 50 more than the normal Fanatic art, or the normal Night Goblin Archers, and I don't really think they're worth it. All that the Fanatic really does is that it gives them that little ball and chain goblin that they throw out, and I don't really know if that's really needed on the Archer unit. On the melee Night Goblin, sure, I'll give that to you. But also we have a Doom Diver, we have Savage Orc Airboys, we have some more Boar Boys on those flanks, and then Orc Boy... I hate pronouncing these. Orc Boar Boy Biggins for Cav. Jeez. Led by Azag the Slaughterer. My unit, I have a front line of Dwarf Warriors. I have some Dwarf Longbeards with great weapons over here. I brought 2 groups of Slayers. I wanted to try them. We're about to get in comment here kind of soon. But yeah, I wanted to try the Slayers as well as the Gyro Bomber. I'm trying to try out all the units to see if they're worth the money or not. Unfortunately... The thing is, I brought 2 groups of Slayers because I'm like, we're fighting against Greenskins. We're fighting against the Vampire Counts, both of which are probably going to bring monstrous creatures. Well, we have 1 monstrous creature. We do technically have Cav that I don't even know about yet at this point in the game, in the Hex race, but that's not really an ideal target, I don't really think, for Slayers. So yeah, it's kind of a lot of money. I think they're 1,100 each, and I don't really like them before bringing them into this battle, but still, we'll see how they perform. And then, yeah, we have the Gyro Bomber for the first time. It is a single unit that has, I think, 11 bombs on it that you can spam out about 1 every, like, 0.5 seconds. So the Orc player here, or the Greenskin player, lines up their infantry in a very nice and tidy line. So I'm like, hey, let's try this Gyro Bomber out. Why not? Meanwhile, over here, we have the Doom Divers sending their goblins to their deaths. Who are they shooting at, by the way? Orc boys? Oh, it looks like they're hitting the Arrow boys. But yeah, so I'm going to line up here because I can just give a move order and then just start bombing everything. And I wanted to see how much damage these bombs would do. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. Also, I'm led by a generic Dwarf Lord, and I have a Rune Smith as well. Here we go. Now, the player does start moving their units forward, so I do kind of miss that bomb. It's a nice reaction by them. And my Gyro Bomber also gets stunned by the Savage Orc Airboys a couple times, so it does slow my movement down. But here we go. Now I want you to see the damage it does. Yeah. It's cool. We'll get him on another pass. This thing, I believe, is 1,100 gold. I may check after the battle just to double check. I think it is 1,100. You can see the Cairn Wraiths are about to charge into the front line of the Greenskin player. And that's it. My bombs are gone. So if we just pause it real quick, let's take a look at this Orc unit that took the most of the bombs. So they're down to 5,200 after getting like 3 bombs on them. And so that's about a little over 1,000 hit point of damage on the Black Orcs. So like you know, I don't know if it's really worth it. I do send the Gyrocopter Bomber to just fire at the Black Orcs for the rest of the match, basically, because they do have armor piercing. And here we go, the initial charge for the Cairn Race and the Orc boys. They do look really cool. Azag is dropping a... actually, I'm sorry. Is that Manfred dropping a spell? Fate of Bajuna from Manfred von Karstein. A very good spell. Now, here, the Orc player was probably busy micromanaging these units over here, and so I took that as an opportunity. I'm going to pause it here for just a moment. to charge their lines. Now, one of the big strengths of the orcs is that even their very basic infantry has a pretty high charge bonus. You can see a charge bonus of 22. If you look at my dwarf warriors, it's 9. So, like, you're not really losing much if you don't charge the dwarf warriors. But what we're doing here is that we're canceling out the potential charge bonus of the orc player. And so, I believe it's for 30 seconds after a charge. That charge bonus is applied to your melee attack and your weapon strength for 30 seconds, which is a pretty huge buff. I'll have to look that up again. I think it's 30 seconds. So yeah, the orc player was busy micromanaging somewhere else. So it's not always great just to sit there in a tight circle as a dwarf player and just take the charge. If the orc player, or any player really, is not really moving their infantry line at all and you're close enough to charge, just do it. Because you're going to be canceling out the charge bonus. And again, that's a big strength for the orcs. Greenskins. I keep calling them orcs. So there we go. That's why I'm just trying to charge in. Sometimes I try and stay in a tight defensive ball, but not this time. I saw that they were not moving at all, so I'm like, no, let's do this. Let's charge. So right now my Corlers, which I do have 3 groups of, they're going to be focusing on the Archer Boys, as well as this Ragnarok in due time. The Hex Race and the Goblin Riders are going to start making their way over to the battle at this point. And I'm sending a group of our Slayers off to deal with the Ragnarok because it's the only large creature in range. The other Slayer group is buffing or helping our Dwarf Warriors over here on the left flank against Orc Biggins. Not really their ideal combat, but I don't really have too many targets. The Gyrocopter Bomber, again, is just blasting this Black Orc and will continue to do so. They don't really have any way to deal with it. Their Archer Boys are over here getting destroyed by a Doomdiver Catapult and our Corlers. We've already broken their center because I have Dwarf Warriors and our Dwarf Lord. Our Runesmith is over here occasionally buffing our soldiers. And then I do also have Hammerers. Hammerers are really good. They're the only super offensive unit that the Dwarves really have, but they are like 1,200 gold, so you can't really bring a lot of them. But I do try and bring at least one group, especially against Greenskins, because you're going to be fighting against the Orc, or Black Orcs, and Hammerers are anti-armor. So yeah, we already have a lot of rounding for the Greenskin player. On the right, it looks like our ally is doing pretty well against the Can Race spam, but the Hex Race do buff the Vampire Counts player here on the right flank. They will do okay. And honestly, going into this fight, seeing the Can Race and later on the Hex Race, I was like, whatever, Can Race spam, it's not going to work. And it's kind of starting to work. All these Black Orcs are kind of starting to fall against the Karen race because of their 75% damage resistance to physical. The Ragnarok did pull out to get away from my Slayers, which I'm now moving over to the left flank, and because that's the only real fight we have left against the Greenskins at this point, are these 2 Black Orcs that we are now holding off with some long beards, which will do okay against Black Orcs, but it's really the support of my Quarrelers that's going to change this battle, and the Gyrocopter Bomber. Here comes Grimgor finally, coming in to help their Orcs, even though they've mostly ran at this point. Here we go, we got a buff dropping from the Runesmith. They have a... Just to tell you why the Runesmith is good, there are 2 buffs that they give to their soldiers around them. One of them is the Rune of Negation, which gives them 44% damage reduction. The other one grants them 15 armor, which is great on dwarves because they already have high armor. So I really love bringing the Runesmith to keep your infantry in line. They also have an offensive spell that can damage a unit. I haven't really noticed it doing that amazing, but still it's something. And you can see we only have to deal with the Black Orcs and the Orc Biggins that are really left right now. Right now, Manfred von Karstein got chased down by some Orc Boy Biggins and got murdered. And these Black Orcs are being destroyed by these Can Race. I do have my Slayers re-engaging with the Ragnarok and now currently being focused by the Quarrelers. And because I was so focused on dealing with this over here and trying to bring down this Ragnarok, I wasn't even paying attention to the minimap. So these Goblin Wolf Riders destroyed the Night Goblin Fanatics and are now going into my Quarreler line. But even after seeing this, I didn't care. I was like, okay, you know what? We'll take this fight, but I need to bring down this Ragnarok before it can get any more kills. Dwarf Lord chasing some people down. And right now you can see I still have a lot of units left. The Greenskins are mostly in a rout, but Grimgor is just slowly taking out these Longbears by himself. Honestly, I didn't care too much at this point in the battle because we had routed most of their forces, so I thought this was, you know, in the bag at this point. And then Grimgor gets put over here to help the remaining Greenskins that are left fighting. Meanwhile, my ally continues to kind of be destroyed by these Cairn Wraiths and Hex Wraiths. Azhag did drop some spells. I saw that he was dropping mostly spells that buffed up their own lines. I would have probably used Fate of Bazuna a lot more against the Wraiths because they are susceptible to magic damage. And yeah, they continue to do a lot of damage to my ally here. These Night Goblin, or Goblin Wolf Riders doing a lot of damage to my Quarrelers, so I am bringing in some Longbeards to help them out there. And at this point, it looks like I had wrapped up the Greenskin player's left flank. All we have left is Grimcore, which I left in a fight with my Runesmith. Listen, you don't want to leave a Runesmith in a fight against Grimgore. It's probably not going to go well, but we had some units nearby, and I was pulling my Dwarf Lord into this, so I thought, you know what, we'll just hold him there with the Runesmith and see how that goes. And I moved the rest of my units over here to support my Quarrelers, and then also to deal with these Cairn Wraiths, which are tearing through my ally pretty handily at this point. Again, I didn't think they would be as effective as they were. Just a Cairn Wraith and X-Ray spam, but it's proving to be kind of fatal to my ally over here. They still have a group of X-Rays out there. But luckily for us, we did kill Manfred, or my ally did kill Manfred, and Azhag is still alive. And then it was at this point when I'm like, oh crap, the Greenskins are rallying. They got 2 Black Orc units. They are all kind of low, but there are still a high unit count. And so a charge from Black Orcs at this point could really just do bad things to me. So I then am moving my infantry back away from the Goblin Wolf Riders to the Dwarf Lord and the Runesmith, who at this point, taking a lot of damage from Grimgore. And to halt the charge of the Greenskins from getting to our Lord, I actually kind of just suicide this Longbeard group and the, actually 2 Longbeard, or Dwarf Warrior and Longbeard group. I know they're not going to win this engagement, but I need to buy as much time for my Lord to try and bring down Grimgore, him and the Runes Priest, while my reinforcements come in. You can see some more damage being dealt here to War Biggins by the Arachnarok, who's still alive. And it's at this point that my Runesmith is about to break, which is actually lucky for him, because he gets out of there before he's murdered in combat, because I wasn't paying enough attention. And here come my Hammerers, almost a full group of Hammerers against this blob of Greenskins and Quarreler support. Meanwhile, the Cairn Wraiths have slowly fallen because their Lord is dead, and they've just been slowly being destroyed. All you have left are these Hex Wraiths, I believe. And these Goblin Wolf Riders are just going to break pretty quickly after getting charged by my Dwarf Warriors there. And we do shatter the remaining Greenskins. But it took kind of a quick change. My Runesmith was almost dead. My Gyrocopter was out of ammo, so I actually sent them into melee against the Black Orcs. And you can see, like, we really don't have too much left. I do still have some Quarrelers left. But we're kind of lucky that Manfred was sniped way back here. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he got chased down and killed because that led to the Cairn Wraiths and the Hex Wraiths slowly just dying, because that's what happens when their leadership breaks. And that really helped our ally stay in the fight. So at the end, yeah, we don't really have too much left. So it was kind of closer than I thought it was going to be going into this fight. I just saw the Cairn Wraith spam and I was like, whatever. And no, they did some work. They really did some work. So yeah, let's actually end this replay. We'll check out the kills, and I want to just double check the price of these units. Let's see, what do we got? Those are okay. Runesmith probably not there to get a lot of kills, but the buffing potential of his spells and the damage of his spell is pretty good. Slayers didn't really do too much, but this is not their ideal combat, and that's another thing. They just cost so much, and like in this situation, they didn't really have anything to fight. So yeah, I wasn't really impressed with them. The Longbeards did okay with the great weapons. The other Longbeards did actually pretty good. Quarrelers did okay. The Hammerers did amazing because they're Hammerers and they're a tough dwarf unit. Gyro Bomber, 40 kills. Let's look at my ally. Whew. We had 1 Black Orc that did pretty well. But keep in mind, they didn't really have many units to kill at all. It was just a bunch of Cairn Wraiths and Hex Wraiths. Doom Diver did pretty good. These poor trolls, not really. The Boar Biggins, they're the ones who sniped Manfred. The Night Goblins didn't really do too much. Again, I wouldn't get the Fanatics because they throw out the little ball and chain people, but that doesn't seem to be super effective when you're on an Archer group. And you really bring them only for their poison debuff that they bring. So you don't really expect a lot of kills out of Night Goblins, but their poison debuff does help some. Now, Grimgore getting 65 kills against my poor Dwarf Warriors. The Arachnarok, even though we were focusing it down so much, still managed to get 112 kills. I really do think the Arachnarok is worth the 2,200, I think it costs. It's a very durable unit. It's pretty scary, and even focusing it down, it still managed to get a lot of kills. The Boar Biggins did pretty good. Orc Boys did pretty terrible, but I think a lot of these didn't even get their charge bonus like I showed off earlier, so a lot of their damage was negated by me charging them and them not charging me. Goblin Wolf Riders did really well against my Quarrelers and the Night Goblin Fanatics, so that was a really good move by Soren Drost here to do that flank. And then let's look at the Cairn Race. Each one of these Cairn Race did pretty good. I mean, let's just forget that one. And the Hex Race did pretty good too, except for that one. Overall, I'm kind of shocked that the Cairn Wraith and Hex Race spam almost worked. I'm really shocked that almost destroyed my ally. I didn't think that would be possible, but hey, now I know because of these 2v2 battles. And so yeah, let's take a look here. Let's go into a custom battle, and I'm just gonna verify the cost of these units. Yeah, 1,100. So that was 2,200 spent on 2 Slayers. If you look at their stats, like, now granted, this wasn't their ideal battle, at all. I just don't think they're worth it. Like, I think it's a lot safer to just bring a group of Hammerers who cost 100 more. They're gonna be more useful in more situations than these Slayers are. The Slayers are just glass cannons. And one of their cool buffs, the Death Blow here, it doesn't even proc until their health is below 20%. So they need to be like nearly dead before they can even start doing that splash damage and get that bonus armor piercing damage. So it's like, I don't believe in the Slayers. The Gyrocopter Bomber was 1150. It did okay. It got 40 kills by focus firing down some Black Orcs, which is kind of its ideal target. It's an anti-infantry armor piercer. And all of his bombs that it was shooting out did some health damage, but again, like for the Dwarves, I just feel like a lot of the units are overpriced. They're cool, but they're overpriced. Like, I would probably not really bring Iron Drakes of either kind, because they're kind of situational and really expensive, along with a lot of their gyrocopters. And this flame cannon is cool. I'll try and show it off in a multiplayer match, but it's so short range and it's just so damn expensive. Like, all their cool stuff is really expensive. Iron Breakers are a super solid unit, but again, super expensive. But you know, they may actually be well priced at 1,300. They're really good. Hammerers, I think, should be brought down actually by another 100 or so. Slayers, I think, should be brought down by a lot. Longbeards, I think, are pretty solid. Actually, I think all of the other infantry is pretty solid for the Dwarf Warriors. Again, the Rune Priest, 1150, or Rune Smith, sorry, but I think it's totally worth it. The Master Engineer is pretty cool. If you have a lot of ranged and artillery, they can buff that up. The Thane is just, I haven't really used him much because he doesn't bring too much to the battle. He has a couple of self-buffing skills that can maybe help him kill some people. I don't know. I don't really think he's super worth it. But yeah, I just wanted to show you, like, their cost is super high. I don't think Slayers are really that great. I'll try and use them again, and hopefully in a more ideal situation where they're going up against, like, Crypt Horrors or Trolls, you know, things like that, where maybe they can do super well. But, like, they're still a glass cannon, and their special skill doesn't even proc until they're almost dead, so I'm not a huge fan of them. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the battle, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Take care.